Hello everybody and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And there's nothing like, you know, if you're interested in sport, you're interested in your football, there's nothing like a game of football to lift the spirits. And I've got to be honest, I've been on a real downer really since Sunday night stroke Monday morning when the news broke about the breakaway six, as they're being referred to at the minute, or the big six as they normally get spoken about as the big six. We wanted to go away and play with 3 Italian clubs and 3 Spanish clubs in the so-called European Super League. Absolutely beyond me what they were thinking about. Just unbelievable. I do get the fact that they are big clubs and the fact that they do have bigger followings around the world than most of the clubs that were being omitted and not being invited in. But, you know, when, you know, it seems like Spurs, I saw somebody put a thing on Twitter today. If you look at the trophies that the teams have won in the last 30 years, if you don't count the League Cup, because some of the countries don't have a League Cup, they have the main cup, they have the Championship, obviously, and then European trophies. And the list was there of, if you only count those big trophies, if you like, the real trophies, not including the League Cup, Spurs haven't won one in the last 30 years, whereas most of the teams in there, they were all in the double figures. If not all of the teams, I think the rest of the teams have all won double figures if you count the European trophies and the FA Cup, at least double figures. So, and then obviously, look, this could easily be us. I'm not having a go at other people's clubs. I'm really not. You know, since Fergie retired, you know, what have we won? We've won the Europa League, we've won the FA Cup once, so one of those big trophies, if you like, but it's not one of the massive trophies, is it? And we've won the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Europa League. We've won, haven't we, in the last 7 years since Fergie retired. Arsenal have won a few FA Cups, 3 FA Cups, I think. But look at Arsenal; they rarely qualify for the Champions League, do they? So for these big clubs, when I say rarely, I don't think they've qualified in the last 3 years, and they're definitely not going to. They're well away from qualifying for the Champions League this year. So for these clubs to suddenly say, basically to say, right, we've not been qualifying for the Champions League, so we're going to start our own. That's what it boils down to. We've, you know, obviously not for all of them. Some of them are in it every year, and they just want more money and to play against the big clubs. So they invited other big clubs into it. But as I say, for a club like Arsenal at the moment, and I'm really, I promise you faithfully, I don't mean to have a go at Arsenal. They are a big club, they're a massive club, they've got a great fan base. I've got lots of friends who are Arsenal fans. I'm not having a go at Arsenal in that respect. It could be anyone's. It could so easily be us. It just so happens that I think we've been lucky to be where we are. We haven't played great football this year. You know, I think we're quite lucky to be in second. But second we are. I think Arsenal are 9th, and it looks like they probably won't even qualify for the Europa League this season, Arsenal, let alone the Champions League. So it really is. It's a bit rich. It was astonishing, really, what they were trying to do. So Monday morning, well, Monday and Tuesday, I was absolutely distraught all day Monday. But obviously by Monday night, you was just getting a feeling that it might not be as nailed on as it appeared. They were adamant, weren't they, on Sunday night? They were adamant all day Monday, these big clubs, that this was not going away. Then I was hearing the arguments that were going to be used against them, such as FIFA saying that the players wouldn't be allowed to play in the World Cup. They won't be allowed to play in the European Championships. Even saying that they would be banished from their own leagues. They won't be able to play in any officially recognised tournaments. If they wanted to play in the European Super League, they would just play in the European Super League, and that would be that. And that got me thinking, well, would they be bothered about that? I'm not sure they'd be bothered about that. The way they were talking about having it, it's loads of interesting stuff, by the way. They were supposed to be having 15 teams in it, and then before it was even mentioned really that we've got X amount of teams in it, it was down to, they only had 12. You know, they were adamant there was going to be 3 more in it, but I think the German clubs, straight away, the German clubs didn't offer, you know, Bayern Munich opted, well, they never opted in. They didn't opt out, they never opted in, and the same with Dortmund. I don't know if PSG were another club invited, but they were supposed to be having 15 teams in it who would never be relegated. those 15 teams would be in it permanently. And that is what really got everybody's back up more than anything else. Just being automatically in it every year was just not on. It's not being... You just can't have it that you don't have to achieve something to be there just by being a big club. Essentially buying your way into it. So they was supposed to be having 20 in it per season, of which, if they had their own way, there was going to be 5 clubs who did have to earn their way into it. So they were obviously hoping, this was the target, that they would have this European League to play the midweek games. Those teams wouldn't go into the Champions League. No doubt UEFA still would have run, they might have changed the name of it, but they still would have run a Champions League with teams qualifying through the league positions. But then the likes of United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, City, they would still be in the Premier League. This was the target. They would still be in the Premier League. Plus, they would still be in this Super League, but they wouldn't have to gain league positions to qualify for the Champions League because they wouldn't play in the Champions League. So each and every season, those 6 clubs, if they'd have got their own way, they would have been competing for... They still would have tried to win the Premier League, surely. But once they knew that they couldn't win it, they wouldn't have anything to play for. You know, there's plenty of them would be out of it come Christmas time, or soon after Christmas. They know they've got no chance of winning the Premier League, and they don't need to finish in the top 4 because they're not going to play in the Champions League. So how that would have affected how they would have approached games in the Premier League, especially if they were doing, some of these teams were doing okay in the Super League, and then not having a chance of winning the Premier League. How would they have approached the Premier League games? And then the other thing, lots of things that were going through my mind, but I've not done a show now for, I didn't put a show up on Monday. As I'm doing this show, by the way, it's a pre-recorded show. City are about to kick off against Villa. I've just watched Spurs. I started by saying, there's nothing like a game of football to lift your soul, lift your spirit. So I'm going to speak about that. I watched a game last night and I've watched a game tonight. I watched the Spurs and Southampton game tonight. But getting back to where I was thinking about, how was this going to work? They're in the Premier League, they're in the Super League. They're going to try and win the Premier League, but if they can't win it, they're not going to try and finish in the top 4. There's no need for them to finish in the top 4. And then I was thinking about how they were trying to stop them from breaking away, being threatened of maybe not being able to play in the league, the players not being able to play for the national teams. How would that have gone down? I mean, I was thinking to myself, that's not going to hold any water because they can just start playing more games. They were hoping to have 15 teams. Like I say, it was already down to 12. Who were they going to invite if the Germans jumped out of it? Were they going to invite maybe Porto from Portugal, maybe Ajax? I don't know. Who else were they going to invite? But then they wanted 5 teams to qualify. But surely, if one of the things that was being held against them to stop them from doing it, the other leagues wouldn't allow their teams to qualify to play in it, would they? Where are they going to get these? They really weren't on firm ground. It was I was worried at the time, but when I think about it now, it was never going to happen. And getting back to the other point I was just about to say, where would the Premier League? Sorry, not the Premier League. Where would FIFA stand when they say that the players for imagine a World Cup with no Real Madrid players, no Juventus players, Barcelona, Manchester City, Manchester United, Liverpool, all these players who will be playing in the World Cup. You imagine the World Cup, no Messi playing for Argentina, no Ronaldo playing for Portugal. What do you think the TV companies would have said to FIFA when they were asking them for however many hundreds, I don't know how much they paid, certainly tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions for the rights to show the World Cup around the world? I've got a feeling the TV companies would have been saying, we'll give you 20% of what we've already agreed or 20% of what you're asking for, because it really wouldn't have gone down well. And where would FIFA have stood then with telling these players or these clubs that their players couldn't play in the World Cup? So their argument would have fallen down as well. So it was a right mess that was waiting to happen. As I say, at the time, I was absolutely worried to death. I was beside myself. I really was. But the more I've thought about it since, it was never going to happen. It really wasn't. It made me. I've had a look at the. What I couldn't really work out what they were planning. They were supposed to be having two groups of 10. Bear in mind, they only had 12 teams to start with. They wanted 3 more permanent teams, and then they wanted 5 teams to qualify through their league positions in their own leagues. However, they were going to be distributed, I don't know. I don't know whether they might even have had some way of even getting, because obviously the English teams are the wealthy teams. The English teams, even the teams. Look, even our Championship is one of the wealthiest teams in the world. The last time I remember seeing it was about the 7th wealthiest league in the world, our Championship. So imagine the teams who are just outside the big 6, the likes of your West Ham and your Evertons, teams like that. You know, they're big clubs by world standards. They're really, really big clubs. So I've lost my thread there, what I was going to say. But yes, that was it. So they wanted teams to qualify. So the next best, biggest clubs, a lot of them are still going to be English clubs. That was that was my point. So they're going to want. They might still have said, you know, the best, the highest finishing team in England, not including the top 6, might qualify. So maybe West Ham or Everton, with the others not even trying, by the way, West Ham or Everton might finish 3rd because the others might not be trying. You know, once they know they can't win it, they don't need to finish in the top 4. So they stop trying and start concentrating on the Super League. So you might well have found that there might have been 7 English teams in it, you know, in a given season. I'm sure it would have happened. They might have said, well, we can have 1 team qualifying from the Portuguese league, 1 from the Dutch league, or however they might have done it. But I really couldn't work out how they were going to do that. And then, if it did get off the ground, and if they did have 20 teams playing in it in the inaugural season, they had stated it was going to be 2 groups of 10. The information I couldn't find was whether, well, at first, it didn't even cross my mind that you won't be playing each other twice. The UEFA have now brought in this Swiss model, as they call it, which is going to start in 2024, which is still pandering to the big clubs. Nothing like in the same manner that this was. Nothing like. But it's still pandering to the big clubs. And for those that don't know how that Swiss model works, I've had a good read of that today. But it's only by reading the Swiss model that it's dawned on me that maybe they weren't going to play each other twice each. My first inkling was they're going to have 10 teams in each group. This is what they wanted to do, the breakaway league. They were going to have 10 teams in each group. So that, to me, straight away meant that you were going to have 18 group games. And I think that was the way it was supposed to be. You were going to have 18 group games. But a quick bit of maths. If you were going to have 18 group games, and then I think it was going to get you through to the last 16. So 16 teams would get through out of 20. And then you'd play a last 16, a last 8 and a last 4. So if you get to the semi-final, you'd have 24 games to play. Or if they don't have a last 16, if they get 8 teams through it. Yes, that's exactly what it was going to be. Now, it was going to be 3 teams through. That was it. So you get straight through to the quarter-final. There was going to be a playoff for a couple of the teams to get through to the quarter-final. I was mixing up the Europa, the breakaway league with the Swiss model, which UEFA are now going to bring in. In that breakaway league, you were going to have 18 group games. You could get through to a quarter-final and then a semi-final. If you got to the semi-final, you would play 22 games. So if you compare that to the Champions League as it is now, you play 6 group games. You play 2 in the last 16, 2 in the last 8, and 2 in the semi-final. That's 12 games to get to the final. 12 games to get to the final, compared to 18 group games, a quarter-final and a semi-final. So 22 games compared to 12 games. How were they going to fit that in? How were they going to plan on fitting that in? Was the League Cup going to get cancelled? Because it's all going to be midweek games. The calendar is already busy every season. The calendar is already busy. Or were they not going to play everybody home and away? Where you might play Real Madrid at home, but then you might play Inter Milan away and you might not play Real Madrid again. It might have been like that. You might have only had to play 9 group games. And what got me thinking about that was the fact that I've looked at this Swiss model today. Really, what they were planning is irrelevant now. But I was fascinated by how they were going to do it, and I'm over the moon that they're not getting a chance to do it. What the fans have done. Really, it does all boil down to the fans. Without all the fans at Chelsea, obviously some of the players as well. Maybe some of the players without the fans uproar might not have spoken out as vehemently as they did. James Milner was brilliant what he said on Sky on Monday night, and numerous other players speaking out. But the fans have brought it to the attention, I believe, of the government, and the government have put pressure on. So it does boil. The pressure of the fans, I believe, has led to all this really kicking off as it did, which has ended up with them caving in. They've all caved in, haven't they? Now, as I speak, the only 2 who haven't issued a statement, I believe, are Barcelona and Real Madrid. Are the only 2. But still, as I say, they're still pandering to the big teams. UEFA were already looking at this, we're already planning this, and UEFA must have had an inkling of this, I think. What UEFA are putting forward, this Swiss model, is also to give more money to the big teams, more games in the Champions League. It's still going to be called the Champions League. It's not going to be a breakaway league, it's the normal Champions League, now getting changed to what they call a Swiss model. Apparently, I've been looking it up. This Swiss model gets used in chess tournaments, and the way it works, well, to start with, there's going to be 36 teams in it, so that was a help. So there's going to be an extra, when I say a help, to get more games played. So there's an extra 4 teams going to get through. From what I was reading, apparently, we know this bit already. There's 4 from England, 4 from Spain, 4 from Germany, 4 from Italy in the Champions League. Get through to the Champions League as we speak. What I didn't realise is there's only 3 from France, if it's correct, where I got my information from. So France were going to get an extra place to take them up to 4. That's the 5 big leagues. That would have left 3 extra spaces. Those 3 extra spaces were going to be kept aside and awarded each season. To start with, the first people who'd get it would be a team who might have had a particularly bad season by their standards, and if they've got their coefficient was higher than other teams that haven't qualified, the teams with the highest European coefficient. So in other words, in recent seasons, Liverpool have won the Premier League, they've won the Champions League, they've reached another Champions League final, haven't they, only 2 or 3 seasons ago. So their coefficient would be high. So if Liverpool would have finished, say, 6th or 7th in the Premier League this season, which is still a possibility this season, by the way, then they will get, their coefficient would get them into it, given one of those extra places. I don't know what you think about this. It's pandering to the big teams. I saw somebody in the article that I read, somebody said, for example, you could end up with a situation where they finish 7th and the teams in 5th and 6th might be, say, Everton and West Ham, and Everton and West Ham in 5th and 6th would go into the Europa League, but Liverpool in 7th would still go into the Champions League on their coefficient. So that was the idea of the three extra places after they'd given 1 to France. But that brings you to 36 teams, however they do it, whoever gets those extra 4 spaces. So there's going to be 36 teams. This is coming in, by the way. This is coming in for the Champions League that starts in 2024. So it's only 3 years down the line, and this has already been announced that this is what they're going to. So there'll be 36 teams in the Champions League. Those 36 teams will be in one league. It won't be any groups. There won't even be 2 groups. There'll be one league. And in that league, each team will play 10 games. So you will play 10 opponents that are in that league. This is not how we are used to football in England or even in Europe. You normally have to play all your opponents, which seems to me the only fair way. What I will say about this, and this probably would have applied to the Super League, by the way, once they get it in, once they get something in, 10, 15, 20 years down the line, so many football fans don't remember it being different. You know, these things these things will be not just be accepted, but people they'll actually love it in so many years' time. You know, they will just love football like you love football today. It's like in the States, they don't have promotion and relegation in the NFL or in the basketball leagues. They don't have promotion and relegation. So the Americans don't dislike it, but they don't dislike it because they've been brought up with it. That's just the way it is. It's the way it's always been. They'd probably be a bit bemused if you said, oh, if you're going to finish bottom this season, you're going to get removed. We're going to replace you with another team. The Americans would be bemused by it. It's just not how it works over there. So I think the same would apply here, no matter which format they change it to. You know, 10, 20, 30 years, certainly 30 years down the line, with, you know, people who are 30, you know, watching their games or watching how the league works, they wouldn't know any different. And everything would just be hunky-dory, it really would. But it's us people that know what we're used to. We don't want it changing, and we don't want it changing for good reason. We want it to be fair, and we want teams to have a chance of qualifying. So back to this Swiss model. There'll be 36 teams in one league. You don't play everybody. You just play 10 other teams, supposedly drawn out evenly. Or I don't know how they do that. Whether obviously it have to be seeded in some manner, but you're supposed to play 2 or 3 teams of the highest quality, maybe 3 or 4 teams of medium quality, and then maybe 2 or 3 teams of the lower quality, maybe the ones who only sneak in the back door or whatever. Don't forget, this is the Champions League, so there will still teams be qualifying through qualifiers. So there will be 1 or 2 lower ranking teams. When you think about the Champions League at the minute, you know, in each and every group, there's almost always, let's call them a whipping boy for want of a better phrase. But there's virtually always one team in your group, and you look at it straight away and you think, well, everybody should get 6 points off them. And obviously sometimes they upset the apple cart, like we did. United got beat in Turkey. You know, that cost us this season, losing in Turkey. So there's always a team who everybody expects to beat, and you need to beat that team twice or else you're in trouble. And that's what happened to United this season in the Champions League. So in this Swiss model, there still will be teams like that, except all 6, 7, 8 teams that are normally split amongst the groups. They'll all be in the same group when the Swiss model starts. So you will play 2 or 3 of the whipping boys. You'll play 2 or 3 of the real big strong teams, and then you'll play 3 or 4 of the medium level teams, if you like. So 36 teams all in one league. The top 8 from that league, when it's all finished, go through to the last 16. This is how this works. The top 8 go through to the last 16, and then teams 9 to 24, so another 16 teams will then have a 2-legged playoff with each other. I was about to say a one-off game, but just one tie. So it's a 2-legged playoff. So there's 8 matches there between those 16 teams for those to go through to the last 16. So you've got your 8 winners, and you've got 8 more out of the next best 16 who will get through to give you your last 16. And then the Champions League will carry on as normal. You've got your last 16 through to a one-off final at a neutral venue. That's how that Swiss model will work. Now, here's the thing. This is where it panders to the big teams in a big way in comparison. Not just that they're going to have those 3 extra spaces that could go to teams with the highest coefficient if they don't actually qualify under their own steam, so to speak. But the top 8 who qualify for the last 16, if you qualify for the last 16 by being in the top 8, then you automatically qualify for the next season's tournament. So at the end, well, not at the end of the season, here's the thing. By mid-season, because don't forget, you've still got your last 6, you've still got your playoffs to get to the last 16, you've still got your last 16, your quarterfinal, your semi-final, your final. So this is probably going to be January time, maybe January, February at the very latest. February at the very latest, that league will have to be finished. So come the end of February, maybe even the end of January, 8 teams will already know that they are in the Champions League for the following season. And they'll still be playing in their leagues. Don't forget, this is not the European Super League. This is the Champions League, the new format called the Swiss model. So this is coming in. So teams are going to, 8 teams are now going to know come the end of January or the end of February that they're already in it. So in their own Premier Leagues, we're still going to have that situation that you could have had with the Super League teams, whereas they know they're in it already, so they can take the foot off the gas. If they can't win that league, they then don't need to finish in the top 4. And I believe it taints that league. That's what I believe. There will be teams, it will happen, where they know they're already in the Champions League, yet they're also playing in your own Premier League, and obviously the other leagues around Europe. But you will know in January or February that you've already qualified for the Champions League, for this 8 of them will anyway, that you've already qualified for the following season, and yet you're not in the hunt for the title. If you're not in the hunt for the title, you can just take the foot off the gas in the Premier League, and obviously treat your treat your Champions League games more importantly. Even the FA Cup, if you're still in the FA Cup, you can treat those, you can rest players for that. And the Premier League will take a back seat, which can affect results for other teams. And to me, it's not right, and it shouldn't. It's nowhere near as bad as what the Super League teams were doing. Nowhere near as bad, but it's still not quite right. A lot of it I haven't got a problem with. I don't mind the idea of the Swiss model, but I don't like that idea. The only reason I don't like the idea of 8 teams qualifying for the next year, the only reason I don't like it is that you'll know so early. That's what I don't like about it. And obviously it's pandered into the big teams, but nothing like as much as they were going to do, where 15 teams would have been in it, and they would have been in it every season, no matter what. And that was never going to be on. And what the fans have done, and how the football family in general have turned it around, has been absolutely brilliant over the last couple of days. As I said earlier, there's nothing like a football game to raise your spirits. On Monday night, I was on a show on the United stand, and Liverpool were playing at the same time away to Leeds. And at that point, we didn't know what was going to unfold in the next 24 hours. And I wasn't even interested in watching it as a United fan. Let's be honest, there's no point beating around the bush. Liverpool fans like United fans to lose games, and United fans like Liverpool to lose games, don't they? That's just the way it is with big rivalries. So under normal circumstances, on Monday night, I'd have been wanting Leeds to beat Liverpool, so it would have damaged their chances of qualifying for the top 4, qualifying for the Champions League, I should say, by being in the top 4. But on Monday night, I wasn't bothered. I was absolutely distraught, because I wasn't concerned whether Liverpool won, drew or lost. Because at that time, I was thinking on Monday night that this is happening, and there's going to be a European Super League and Liverpool will be in it, and you don't need... Imagine that going forward. You don't have to qualify for it. On Monday night, in the space of 24 hours of it being announced, already there was a game where I'm thinking I'm not really interested in the result of this game. What a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. Obviously, it now matters, and Liverpool did drop points. Liverpool did drop points on Monday night. But when I say it raises the spirits, this is how it's gone for me. I wasn't even interested in that game on Monday. By Tuesday night, it was obvious and clear. I can't remember if they've already said it, but there was already strong rumours that Chelsea and Manchester City were dropping out. And I think everybody knew that once a team dropped out, it was going to collapse like a house of cards. I think that was always obvious if one dropped out. So the rumours were that Chelsea and City, well, it wasn't just a rumour. It was pretty much obvious. It had been announced, I think, that Chelsea were dropping out before I watched Chelsea v Brighton. But I'd been so on such a low all day that I wasn't looking forward to that Chelsea-Brighton game. I like watching Brighton, but my stomach for football was just, it was gone. I was destroyed. I really wasn't bothered about watching it. But I did put it on, but obviously the news was breaking then as well. But my mind was elsewhere. I hope it happens, you know, this better turn it all around. So I wasn't really concentrating on the match properly, and I put a tweet out, as I always say, saying as much. I wasn't concentrating on the game. I was thinking about what else was going on in the world of football. And for the second half, I did switch on a little bit more, and I did enjoy it more. And like I say, I enjoy watching Brighton. I put a tweet out saying I'm surprised how low they are in the league for the type of football that they play. I love that Basuma. What a lovely mover with the ball. What a good passer of the ball. United have been linked with Ben White, and I've seen people saying, what do we want Ben White for? Ben White looks a class player to me. He looks a quality centre-back. And then obviously, I know he's coming towards the end of his career compared to the other younger lads that I mentioned, but Danny Welbeck, still a class act. Still a class act. He got the ball 25 yards out. I knew he was going to make a decent effort of it. I thought he was going to score, to be honest. Most players, I'd expect them to scuff the shot. I mean, plenty of United players, as soon as you see them look up from 25 yards or 28 yards, you think, oh, this is going to be a P-roller, or he's going to scuff it. And that's what happens. Danny Welbeck picked it up 25 yards out. I seen him look up and I thought, he'll hit this well. Did he hit it well? It smashed into the post. He was very unlucky not to score. And he raced onto the follow-up and smashed it with his left foot, which was luckily blocked. I think it was Rudiger. It went straight at him. So, yeah, Danny Welbeck, still a class act. But, you know, for the other players, plenty of good players in the Brighton team. But I like Ben White and I like Basuma. And I wouldn't be distraught one little bit if United were to sign either of those two. So, little bit by little bit, I've watched that game. So, tonight, obviously, everything's changed. Everything's changed. They've all dropped out. The Super League has finished. So I really looked forward to the Spurs-Southampton game. I watched Spurs and Southampton. Really enjoyed it. So I've seen Southampton like this a lot. I don't know if they've run out of steam. And I also don't know what it is with Danny Ings, whether he's carrying in some sort of injury all the time. It never seems to... Obviously, it can't be never, but to me, it seems quite a lot that he can't see a game out. And Danny Ings looks quality. He's absolutely quality. Some of his play tonight was brilliant. But 58 minutes gone, he had a shot, and I think he pulled something when he shot. Scored their goal, by the way, with a lovely deft little flicked header. But after 58 minutes, they were leading 1-0 Southampton, and he had to go off. Not saying they would have hung on to it or even won it, but it does make a big difference to him. We'll never know. Maybe Southampton would have scored again if he wouldn't have got injured. He was still causing problems. But then Gareth Bale got the equaliser, and they have a saying in football that that form is temporary and class is permanent. And Gareth Bale really showed his class there. A ricocheted shot that was going to go out for a goal kick. It was just within his reach. Killed it with his left foot, but took just a tiniest little touch with his left foot again. Just moved the ball about, I don't know, not even a foot perhaps. Maybe a foot, but, you know, not far at all. Just nudged it a little bit, which just set it nicely, and then curled it into the top corner. One touch to kill it. One touch to set it, and then a touch to shoot, and curled it right into the side netting across the goal. It's a fantastic goal by Gareth Bale. Better than what they're talking about. That extra little touch that he needed just to set the shot was absolute class. It really was. It's a beautiful goal by Gareth Bale. Then Spurs had one disallowed for offside. Son had one disallowed. They thought he'd scored, but VAR got involved. Disallowed it because Lucas Moura was in front between Son and the keeper, and he was in an offside position. And then VAR got involved again right at the death and awarded a penalty where the referee had ordered a free kick just outside the box, and Son scored that. So Spurs ended up winning 2-1. But I really enjoyed that game, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it one little bit. I probably wouldn't have even watched it if it was on Monday night, and I wouldn't have enjoyed it half as much on Tuesday night. But it's Wednesday, and I'm back in the swing, and we've got Leeds coming up. Leeds held Liverpool to a draw. I say they held them to a draw. They equalised late on, didn't they? And held them to a draw on Monday night. That was the game that I did catch the last 5 minutes after I was on the United Stand show. I actually saw the equaliser live, but I wasn't bothered. I wasn't bothered on Monday night, but I did watch the end of it. Be a liar if I said I didn't watch it. I did watch the end of it because it was only 1-0 and Liverpool equalised. But I wasn't Leeds equalised. But I wasn't that bothered. I really wasn't. But like I say, then again, Tuesday night I watched a half a game. Tonight I've watched a full game, and I'm bang up for it now. And Leeds drew with Liverpool, and last week they beat City, didn't they, at the Etihad? So they've now got us on Sunday. So, you know, to them, imagine those three scalps, even getting a draw with Liverpool, they count it as a scalp, beating City. So they're going to be right up for it against us on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that one, obviously, but I'll be back again now. I've been in the doldrums the last 48 hours. This is the first show I've done in 3 days on my own channel. So that's that. But I'm back at it. I'll be back tomorrow. And don't know what we'll talk about tomorrow, but I'll think of something. I'll be back with the show tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed that show. If you have enjoyed it, please tell all your friends. Please subscribe. If you didn't enjoy it, don't tell anybody. Keep stum.